At a family meeting, Mom said, "Your sister just bought an expensive apartment. You can't do it." So I smiled and replied, "I did it 2 years ago, none of you ever asked." They demanded a housewarming party, and I answered. I stared at my phone in disbelief. My mother had just called, inviting me to dinner at my parents' house. It had been months since we'd last spoken, and years since I visited them. I'm Donna, 32 years old, and the black sheep of my family, or at least, that's what they think. Growing up, I was always second best. My younger sister Melissa was the golden child who could do no wrong. She was prettier, more charming, and had this way of making everyone love her, especially our parents. It wasn't that they were cruel to me. They just clearly preferred her. The dance recital they'd miss because they were too busy? They'd somehow find time when it was Melissa's turn. The average grades that earned me lectures somehow became doing her best when they came from my sister. I sighed, putting my phone down on the kitchen counter. The marble felt cool under my fingertips, a small luxury in the apartment I never told them about. Why had Mom called now? What did they want? Fine, I muttered to myself. I'll go. A week later, I pulled up to my parents' modest suburban home. I deliberately dressed down, jeans, a simple blouse, and minimal jewelry. Nothing that would indicate I was anything but the struggling middle manager they thought I was. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell. Dad opened the door. "Donna, come in. Come in." His welcome seemed genuine, but distracted. As soon as I stepped into the living room, I saw why. Melissa was holding court on the couch, Mom and Dad's attention fully focused on her as she gestured wildly, telling some story about her workplace drama. She paused mid-sentence when she saw me, her perfect smile never faltering. "Oh, the prodigal daughter returns," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Mom jumped up. "Donna, honey. We're so glad you could make it." She hugged me briefly, then immediately returned to her spot beside Melissa. I settled into an armchair across from them, watching as Melissa's eyes scanned my outfit with barely concealed contempt. "Love the thrift store chic look," she said, smirking. "Thanks," I replied simply. Not all of us need designer labels to feel good about ourselves. Dad cleared his throat. "So, Donna, your mother's made a lovely dinner. Should be ready in about 20 minutes. We made awkward small talk until Mom announced dinner was ready. As we gathered around the dining table, the same one from my childhood, Dad poured wine for everyone. Melissa immediately launched into stories about her job at a marketing firm. "They practically begged me to take on the Johnson account," she was saying. "Said I was the only one who could handle it." "That's wonderful, sweetie," Mom beamed, reaching over to pat her hand. Dad turned to me suddenly. "And what about you, Donna? Still at that same company? What was it? Assistant manager?" I took a sip of wine before answering. "Still at Berkshire Financial." "Yes." Melissa snorted. "God, Don, you've been there what, 8 years now? Most people would have moved up by your age. I mean, I've been promoted 3 times in 4 years." I could feel my jaw clenching. If they only knew. That I'd been Berkshire's financial director for the past 3 years. That my annual bonus alone was more than Melissa's yearly salary. That I'd been featured in Business Weekly's 40 Under 40 last year. But they didn't know, because they'd never asked. Never cared enough to keep up with my life. Instead of correcting her, I simply smiled. "Not everyone has your drive, Mel." "Or her talent," Mom added, serving Melissa another helping of mashed potatoes. The conversation continued in this vein throughout dinner. Melissa bragged about her impressive salary, her jealous coworkers, and her upcoming Hawaiian vacation. My parents ate it up, asking follow-up questions and showering her with praise. Not once did they ask anything meaningful about my life. "I've been saving for Hawaii for months," Melissa was saying. "But when you make good money, it's not that hard." She shot me a smug look. "That sounds wonderful," I said, pushing my plate away. "But I should probably get going. Early meeting tomorrow. Thanks for dinner, Mom." I stood, gathering my purse. Mom walked me to the door while Melissa and Dad remained at the table. "It was good to see you, honey," she said, patting my shoulder. As I drove back to my downtown apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that there had been some ulterior motive for my invitation. Whatever it was, I was glad to be heading home. Back in my spacious apartment, I kicked off my shoes and poured myself a proper glass of wine, not the cheap stuff my parents served. Just as I was settling onto my balcony, with a view of the city skyline, my phone pinged. A message from Melissa. "Hope you're not too down about your sad little life, sis. Not everyone can be successful, I guess. Don't worry though, I'll send you a postcard from Hawaii." I stared at the message for a long moment, then burst out laughing. If she only knew. I closed the message without responding and took another sip of my wine, looking out at the twinkling city lights from my 28th floor luxury apartment. I didn't always have such a strange relationship with my family. When I was very young, before Melissa was born, things were different. I have faint memories of my dad tossing me in the air, my mom reading bedtime stories. But everything changed when Melissa arrived, when I was 4. She was the perfect baby, rarely cried, always smiling, with these big blue eyes that seemed to enchant everyone who looked at her. By the time I was 10, the pattern was clear. Melissa was special, and I was just there. I tried everything to win their approval. I joined every club, studied until midnight, volunteered on weekends. In high school, I was valedictorian, debate team captain, and yearbook editor. But when I gave my graduation speech, scanning the audience for my parents' proud faces, their seats were empty. They had taken Melissa to her dance competition instead. That day, something broke inside me. I realized nothing I did would ever be enough. So I stopped trying to impress them, and started living for myself. I got a full scholarship to Princeton, graduated with honors, and landed a job at Berkshire Financial. Within 5 years, I was managing my own team. 3 years ago, I was promoted to financial director. And I never told them any of it. I was jarred from these memories by my phone ringing. It was Mom again. I hesitated before answering. Hello? We're having a family gathering next Saturday. Everyone will be there, Aunt Carol, Uncle Jim, your cousins. We'd like you to come. I frowned. What's the occasion? Oh, just a family meeting. There's something special to announce. Her voice was deliberately vague. I should have said no. Every instinct told me to stay away. But curiosity got the better of me. Fine. What time? 4 o'clock. And Donna, try to dress appropriately. I hung up, seething. Appropriately. As if I normally showed up in rags. Saturday arrived, and I stood in my walk-in closet deliberating. I finally chose a simple black dress, Chanel, though you'd only know if you recognized the subtle stitching and fabric quality. To the untrained eye, it looked modest, but it cost more than Melissa's monthly salary. When I arrived at my parents' house, cars lined the driveway. I recognized Aunt Carol's sedan and Uncle Jim's truck. Taking a deep breath, I headed inside. Donna, Aunt